Well, to sell, you have to have inventory. So today, let's talk about mistakes resellers make with inventory management. Over the years, I have definitely learned some lessons about not keeping my inventory up to just having a little bit of chaos with inventory management. Just to let you know, I have plus 10 years of reselling experience, mostly on eBay and Posh. And also in my life before I got into reselling, I was working in corporate retail in inventory management. So first up, not tracking your inventory. There are multiple ways that you can go about tracking your inventory. You can be down at the individual item level and then have the cost associated with that individual item, where a location is for that item, or you can do it more at a total level. And when you purchase things, be like, okay, well, I bought 5 items and the average cost is this. And when you're storing it, you store more like, okay, all the t-shirts A through F or whatever is in this tote, or all my jackets are on these hangers. So multiple ways that you personally can track it. I have done both. Right now, I'm at the space where I'm personally doing it more at a overall level, and I'm not writing down the actual, like on the spreadsheet, I don't have this line item is, this Chico's short sleeve women's shirt size 2, and I paid, $4 or $2, whatever it is for it. And the location is A1, B3, that kind of thing. At one point, I did do that. Now what I do is for my inventory and my record keeping, I have where I put in my purchases with the total cost, the total items purchased, and it's an average. I mostly source from the same stores, so I have kind of like the average cost of goods is pretty much on average, it's pretty much the same. And I used to, have that detailed on storage inventory, which kind of brings us into the next mistake, is disorganized storage. No matter how you want to do it, if you want the individual and your totes or shelves are labeled, or if you just want the generalized. Like I said, I had both. Now what I do is I have my hard goods mostly on the shelf so that I can just at a glance see it. And if you have thousands and thousands, obviously, of items, this is going to be a whole different level. Then I would say, yes, you need the individual. But if you generally have like 700 to 1,000, maybe 1,200 items, I don't find that I need that. I have my hard goods on the shelf so I can look at them. And I have some racks that I got when a local store was going out of business. If you don't have that, you could check on Facebook Marketplace. A lot of times you can buy racks, or from Amazon or something, get some clothing racks. And so I have all my jackets there. I can just leaf through them. What I recently did with my jeans, which I'm really loving, is put them in the poly mailer and label them, or a clear poly bag, and label them and put them on the shelf. For sweaters, I have them in totes, certain letters, A through whatever, and I play around with space, what I need, and then I just go through them. For me personally, that is working. But no matter what way you want to use, you need to make sure that you are having it organized, which sometimes I can admit I list stuff and I just put it on the shelf and I'll put it away later. But make sure you're putting it away. And another thing with not just having storage, if maybe you just have an extra closet, I know depending on the space, sometimes we have to have the inventory all over, but if possible, if you can have one room or a half a room dedicated to it, get some shelves, get a rack, depending on what you sell. But another thing with not just setting it up, but it's taking physical inventory. Yes, stores take physical inventory, and you need to as well. That's currently what I'm doing. It is a little bit of a slow process depending, but it is so important because you can find things that maybe dropped off if you ended them and were going to sell similar and then you never got around to it, are still listed and for some reason you can't find them, you don't have them. So important. I can do a whole video about it if you want, but I print out by category, go through, check the weights of the items. This also assures me that I am looking at every single item in a category. Does it need to be lowered, the price? Does the title need to change? Does the pictures need to be changed around? And kind of seeing what you can do to get it moving. So definitely storage space organized and take physical inventory. Along with taking the inventory, mistake number 3 is ignoring those items that just are not going to sell. This kind of has to be up to you what your threshold is, but when you're doing that inventory, I write on the sheet if I've noticed something that I've had, because in the custom label I put what year and the month that I listed it. If you want to know kind of tips that I have found of what works to put in the custom label, just stay until the end. That video will pop up next. But I put that in. So as I'm going through, if something has been listed for a couple of years and it's just, you know, a run-of-the-mill kind of maybe mall brand and not that special, then, and I've dropped it to like $10, like whatever your threshold is, you've had it the lowest you can go, you've changed around the pictures, you've ran a sale, you've promoted it, you've done all these things and it's not selling. Sometimes you just have to cut your losses and donate it and not feel bad about it. Now, if it's something unique, then yeah, like vintage items a lot of times will take longer to sell. If it's something unique, if it's something high price, rare, you know, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, when you're taking that inventory, make sure you're mindful of that too, and not just selling similar and keep something going and going and going. Mistake number 4, I am guilty. Yes, raising my hand. Overbuying inventory. I do have quite a few totes of unlisted things, which I am doing a current kickoff. I did a kickoff of listing our dead stock inventory. Again, that video will be at the end and linked down below. But I really need to get on that because it's been years, so overbuying inventory. Of course, if you come across an awesome deal, sometimes it's necessary to get in bulk. But overall, just keep mindful of, you know, what your budget is, how much space you have. And when I first started out, I was just looking at like certain brands and I would kind of look if something sold and it was like, yes, it's sold. I wasn't totally paying attention to how much it was selling for or how fast the items were selling. Because yes, something could say that it's sold, but if it takes like 2 years for something to sell and you'll get, you know, a few bucks profit for it, is it really worth it? So keeping those things in mind when you're sourcing, and I know, I mean, sourcing is the fun part, right? But we can't overbuy, or we shouldn't. Easier said than done sometimes. Mistake number 5 is not rotating your inventory. Now, this is just totally, I have a couple things with this. This one is just totally, what do I want to call it? It's not superstition, but something like that, where I swear sometimes if I just physically go on my shelves and kind of move around the product and touch it, it'll sell. It doesn't always happen, obviously, but I don't know why. Sometimes that happens. So sometimes physically moving around your things, if you're, you know, into that kind of thing and thinking, I don't know what it does, but it's happened on quite a few occasions. But more importantly is there are some people who will say, list it, forget it. You know, it can be listed a couple years and maybe it'll eventually sell. My experience, what I have learned is, for me, no, that's not the case. I don't want to list it and just forget it to a certain point, but I try to periodically, at least one day a week at least, go through, sort by what's ending soonest, and look at how old. My general rule of thumb is if something is around the 3-month mark, I end it and I sell similar. Now, depending on where you are with your selling journey, you might have to keep track of, how many free listings do you have and how many can you do that for? For me, since I've been selling for so long, I have more free listings than I could ever do in a month. So for me, I end them, sell similar, and it bumps it up. Again, whether it's true or not, from my experience, it does seem true that it bumps it up and then I get more sales. So you want to think about that too. There's a lot to running a business, right? A lot to reselling. If you're finding this video helpful, I hope that you will give this a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and join me here every Sunday, by the way.